Hello guys, my name is Pedro, and today I'll be talking to you about violence in media, specifically video games. This was around chapter 11 on the book, but they didn't really specify on the aspects of video games. They more went towards the movies and TV. So I'll be giving you the video game aspect. So media has always had a negative impact overall by parents, elderly, the general population. And whether it's movies, books, video games, comic books, anything, it's marked down in history that it was always restricted. Personally, as a gamer myself, I find this to be more of a myth. Playing video games doesn't make you really violent, I feel, personally. I have literally been playing video games since I was a child, and I am not a violent person. I'm pretty calm. Yes, the technology and the boundaries that of video games and stuff has evolved and changed since and while I was growing up, but I feel as though it still doesn't have a major impact on people and violence. Some people say the availability of these violent games out there are pretty easy, and I agree on that part, but according to federal crime statistics, the rate of juvenile violence in the United States only is a 30-year low. So that means that the violent video games doesn't really have a major factor in causing children to be more violent. There is also a study, according to PBS.org, a 2001 U.S. surgeon reported that the strongest risk factor for school shootings centered on mental stability and quality life at home, not media exposure. So not even just video games, but any media doesn't really impact you that much unless you're really into it that much. Proving that video games does not make us violent or not alone anyways, but major consumption can increase in aggressiveness. During a meeting held by the president relating to school shootings from the Florida Parkland shooting this year, Douglas Gentle, a psychology professor at Iowa State University, says that aggression is complicated, but whether it's verbal, relational, or physical aggression, all media can influence after major consumption and can lead to a more aggressive nature. This study proves that it doesn't necessarily increase your violence or violent nature, but aggressiveness. There are many cases on video games increasing aggression, but back to my myth of violence, not many. Center for Research.org confirms the notion, stating that there are no clear evidence to support the myth that video games are behind violence. Jay Ho, lead author of a study published in the Proceedings of National Academy of Sciences, researched and suggests that violent video games, besides the increase of aggression, can or may increase the practice of a lot of negative or inappropriate behaviors like binge drinking, smoking, unsafe sex, and reckless driving. But that does not lead to violence. Research has shown that video games simply has not had enough research to determine the direct links to violence alone. There must be links to mental problems or substance abuse or family issues or etc. for it to lead to a mass shooting and other violent crimes that have been prominent in the U.S.'s history. For some statistics, on a report by the U.S. Secret Service and U.S. Department of Education, they examined 37 incidents of targeted school violence between 1974 and 2000, and of the 41 that they studied, only 12% of them showed interest in violent video games, given the reason behind it being a myth, that violent video games do not cause you to be more violent or cause any violence in the world. Overall, with all the case studies and all the points that I've shared with you guys in this video, it pretty much backs my side that violent video games, do not cause people to be more violent or cause mass shootings or any violent crimes. What do you think? Think openly too. Don't be biased. Do research and find out more. And hopefully you'll see whether I'm on the right side or maybe video games are violent. Thank you for watching.